Sori.
And we're about to do some Iron Maiden. I hope you've noticed that we haven't done any bands this week that we've done ever.
Mm-hmm.
So every song in every show has been a new one. I hope you understand that.
Be grateful.
Now, there are other bands that we could do and triplicate our subs, but we love y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, there's only 7 days in a week, which means we can only do 14 shows a week, which means we have thousands and thousands of requests. Because literally have thousands of requests. And we love it. It's great because it means we're going to be doing this for a long time. But if we don't get to your show immediately,
it doesn't mean we don't like you.
That's why. Okay? So what we're trying to do is this week we made a vow to one another. We're going to go all week without doing a band that we've done before. Mm-hmm. There will be an exception for one particular band for one particular reason. Most of you know why. But other than that, we're going to do 13 brand new bands that we've never done this week, if you do the math. Okay? So...
Well, will it technically, because we have Tool on Saturday?
Well, yeah, then there's a Tool show on Saturday. Okay? But, give us some slack. Okay. This is Iron Maiden. I've never heard one song from this band. Have you?
No.
I haven't heard of...
I've never even heard of the band before.
Yeah, well, have you... Why does that not surprise me? Allahu Akbar. By the way, Ramadan Kareem, ya Muslimin. But, so you never... Have you heard of, like, Metallica growing up?
Yeah, I heard of Metallica.
Okay. Metallica you heard of. Aerosmith.
Yep.
You heard of them, but
yes.
I didn't know anything about. Yeah,
Is Aerosmith metal though?
No, they're not. I wouldn't say.
I'm pretty sure I heard some of their songs, and
I actually heard an argument in growing up between, who was better, Aerosmith or Maiden. So that means these guys must not really be metal if they're being compared.
Oh.
I don't know. They're being compared to Aerosmith. I don't know, but maybe what did the neighborhood kids know? What did Jim know about?
Some people
metal. He was a very
weird
nerdy
bands
guy.
like Metallica and. What did we compare? Metallica and we did something. Megadeth?
Megadeth is still metal.
Yeah, but everybody was like, why would you? God, they're not even in the same scale.
Oh, yeah. Those are delusional people. All right. Even Megadeth fans would admit that that's a delusional statement, that you can't compare the two. How could you not compare the two? They were in the same band. That's a really delusional statement. Okay. All right, so we've got Iron Maiden. The only thing I haven't listened to a note of Iron Maiden growing up at all. I just wasn't into this type.
So the only time that you heard about them was those kids?
Well, no, there was also that church thing. You know those things that back in the day where they, the guy, the repentant, rock metal guy that used to have the tattoos, but now he wears long sleeve shirts to repent of his tattoos and all that shit. Like he'd show up to the church and then play the tapes backwards, and you'd be like, "Oh, you think this is just some song, don't you?" And then he'll play it backwards, and then it'll be like, and then he'll have a whole sentence written out. Do you remember any of that stuff?
No, they never did that. I only heard
I'll show you some of them.
Stairway to Heaven or something.
Oh yeah, they'll play it all backwards, and they'll have a whole sentence.
Yeah, I remember they were like, it means worship the devil or something.
That means worship the devil every day of your life and to dedicate your whole soul to him and make sure that you backflip into hell when you hit the precipice of death. Like, he had the whole paragraph written down, and it was just like...
How did people play them backwards? That always confused me.
I don't know. You rewound the tape backwards or whatever.
But that's not playing it backwards.
Then you found the devil's plot. You had all these 80s kids with their mullets listening to their songs backwards. Of course, the name of this record is The Number of the Beast.
Oh, well.
So if I was a devil, I'd be like, hey!
You don't have to go backwards there.
Pay attention to me! Pay attention. Can you imagine a demon I wonder, maybe we could put all this shit backwards. Nobody will know. And then the other demon's like, well, dumb, if nobody knows, then what the fuck, what's the point?
Right.
Nobody thinks about these things. All right.
You know what I think is interesting about metal? Is you can talk about the devil and demons and everybody's cool with it. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's true. But, other people be like, what? The devil.
What do you mean?
You know, like if you're talking to other people outside of the metal community.
Oh, of our metal community. Yeah,
and you say something about the devil.
It's true. They look
at you like.
They look at you
do you
like
also believe in the tooth fairy?
Yeah.
But here, like, it's just mad obvious.
It's just common. It's like talking about a glass of orange juice.
Yeah. Tropicana.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. Hallowed be thy name, Iron Maiden. Hey, do you see? Are you seeing?
Yeah.
This right
Why does
now?
it
It's
keep
all
blurring?
What did you do? Did you? Change
It was
the
clear,
setting?
and then every time you do that, it would get blurry. I don't know why.
Oh, now it's all clear. All right. Ready?
Yep.
What?
It's just funny.
I'm waiting in my cold cell when the bell begins to chime, reflecting on my past life, and it doesn't have much time. 'Cause at 5 o'clock they take me to the gallows pole. The sands of time for me are running
I heard a song like this growing up, but it was a Christian version.
They probably stole it.
Thou shalt not steal!
Thou shalt not steal.
When the priest comes to read me the last rites, take a look to the bowels of the last sites of a world that has gone very wrong to me. Can it be that there's some sort of error has to stop the surmounting terror? Is it really the end, not some crazy dream? Somebody please put me down, I'm dreaming. It's not easy to stop from screaming. My voice escape me when I'm trying to speak. Tears forward, why am I crying? After all, I'm not afraid of dying. 'Cause I believe that there never is an end.
Be afraid.
Right.
Shit.
Well, that was interesting.
What do you mean?
I don't know. There was something different about this one than the other ones.
Other ones what?
Just other music that we've listened to. Sometimes to me they sound similar. This one was different, and I don't know what was different about it because I don't know that much about this stuff, but there was something that was different about it.
Like how it made you feel, the content?
The sound of it seemed different.
Like, what do you mean? Sonically, what did it do for you?
Maybe there was like you know at the end where the drum was kind of going or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it sounded to me like people like they were like somebody had down those steps going to the gallows or something. So there was kind of like that. The drums on that part sounded kind of sloppy-ish, not sloppy like chaotic, but just like purposefully
sloppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there was some parts that were very orderly about it. I don't know. I mean, I think that the lyrics were very interesting too.
I like that kind of like secondary or like bridge riff. That was really cool. I really like that one.
What?
That's the thing about like that 80s metal. They'd have these like licks that were just like really catchy, and they would keep going with it. You don't find that in
was
new metal
Megadeth
anymore.
in the 1980s too?
Yeah, the 80s. Yeah.
Okay, well, to me, they don't sound the same. Megadeth and these people, they don't sound like they came from the same time period. Like
Really?
the other one to me seemed like very 80s-ish when you said
This seems very 80s.
Yeah, well, I don't know much about the music, but that one was more obvious to me than this one. Maybe it was the hair, I don't know.
These guys had hair, I bet.
Probably.
I bet if we Google them and look at their hair, there we'll find some hair.
So somebody's gonna be killed?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's going to get executed. You know, he's going to the gallows at 5 o'clock. I always had that thought, like, would you rather die instantly, or would you, like, want to have the date?
Oh no, instantly.
You wouldn't want the date.
No.
I wouldn't want the date either. Why wouldn't you want the date?
Because I think too much. And like just thinking about that, like, okay, like, especially if you knew it was gonna happen, like if I knew I was going to the gallows, I'd be like, they're gonna put that rope around my neck. And then I wonder if they're like, is the bottom gonna give out, or are they gonna kick a bucket? Like somehow, and then I'd be like thinking about all that. I don't want to say too much. I don't trigger anybody, but you know, like thinking about all the angles, and then like, what's that going to be like? Is my life is slipping? I'd like think about all of that, and then I think about my family and how sad they'd be without me, and you know, what would happen to my favorite YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd overthink the whole thing, and I'd either be completely calm because I think that you would connect with God at a different level, like, in those moments. I think that he said in one of it, like, basically when you're close to death, you realize that everything was an illusion. And I remember, like, all of my life, even as a child, like, sitting down for moments and just thinking about, and you've talked about this before, too, thinking about reality and stuff, and, like, just being like, everything here is, like, real to the touch, but, like, why does it feel like it's so artificial? And then...
Yeah.
You know, and then understanding that this world was created, but it's gonna die out, but then something eternal is coming. And so being like, that's gotta be why I feel that way. Even if I didn't have that understanding, I would still have felt like what is with everything. So I think as you're getting close to death, I would imagine you feel that even more.
Yeah. Yeah,
Are you okay?
It's just a really heavy topic. You know, I mean death, that's crazy. But yeah, there's always like these like philosophies that say that life on Earth is an illusion.
Philosophies?
Yeah, like you know, there's strands of Buddhism and strands, you know, and you know, I was, you know, metaphysical folks, and I was looking at the Joe Rogan show, and you know, they were mocking these people that think that the world is an illusion. He's like, you know, jump off a building and see if the world is an illusion. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, if you take it that far to like the quantum level of that the world is an illusion, then yeah, you end up saying really crazy, stupid stuff that's just, you know, hyper spiritual psychobabble. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, there's a reason that movies like The Matrix are popular. Mm-hmm. So there's like this sort of like, when you talk about reality, all of us have like this sneaking suspicion that what we think is reality really isn't ultimate reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that like this life is a complete illusion, because you're not an illusion. Like there's something very, very real between the two of us, you know, and that's not illusory.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's something within us that's eternal.
Right.
So everything else kind of has that, but there is a sense in which other people, and love in particular, that feels more real. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think that people feel real, but there's like this connection that love makes that's different than.
Well, that's why, like, you know, love is the ultimate, right? Like love is like the ultimate. Is, you know, I'm working on a theory in my own head, but that love is the ultimate reality.
Well, the Bible says that God is love.
Right. And that God is the ultimate reality.
And God is the
right?
ultimate reality.
So if God is ultimate reality, then God is love, then love is the ultimate reality.
Yes.
So, like, even in stories like The Matrix, at the end of the day, it's still a love story. You know, it's, you know, Neo and Trinity, you know.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't matter. And there's only really, like, 3 or 4 stories in the world.
Yeah, 3 or 4 themes.
You know, there's.
I remember when you first told me this, I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
so right.
Yeah. Like there's only things were good. There's a bad guy fucks it up. There's a good guy who comes in and saves everything, but it costs him something. But there's some girl that he likes or loves. You know, and that's the template for pretty much every story in the world, right? And so, like, you know, it's really, really crazy. Even in like a movie like Underworld, for example, where it's these vampires or whatever, and it's very dark and satanic. Well, it still turns into a love story. Like,
oh, I never seen that one.
You can't, I'm sure you did. We can't get away from it. So all I'm saying is like the whole line about the life being an illusion, is you know, like, I get it and I don't get it. I think like eventually all of us reach a moment of enlightenment, and in this particular guy's circumstance, he reached a moment of enlightenment at the very end that okay, none of this stuff, 98% of the stuff that you think matters does not matter.
Yeah.
Like when the clock is starting to tick, you're not going to worry about 90% of the shit that you're worried about now. Oh, I wish I had more views on YouTube.
Right.
Like,
I don't worry about that though.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think about it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that matters is the people that you touch on YouTube. You know, it's the only thing that matters is the people that you've affected positively and you've been able to love and receive love from people the best that they can give it in a virtual.
Yeah, and I think some people have done a very good job at that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been great. Even the haters have showed a bunch of love. You know, because the worst thing, the only way to really hate a person is to ignore them. Right. So if you took the time to sit down and type something out that was mean, I appreciate you. But anyway, he's got, it's 5 o'clock. Like, boom, you know when it's gonna be over for you. That is crazy. And then everybody gets real religious, right? Priest comes to read his last rites of a world that has gone very wrong for me. So here's the thing that's crazy to me about that line. He's in death row, presumably because he killed someone. But he's saying the world has gone wrong for him. Yeah. Instead of saying that he screwed up the world. Yep. You killed somebody. You know what I mean?
No, you made a very valid point.
You were dumb enough to get caught, bless God, and now you're saying the world has gone wrong for you. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, but that's the mindset of lots of people. Always the victim.
Yeah.
The world's gone wrong for me.
Yeah.
I murdered somebody in cold blood.
Yeah. Somehow you end up being the victim in the whole situation. Yeah. Yeah, it's human nature. It's pretty crazy. You know, and but here's the crazy thing. I am sure that, you know, this character's not a real character. But I'm sure, and it's a whole nature-nurture discussion, I'm sure he didn't just wake up randomly and say, I'm going to go kill somebody today. Like, there was something going on with him in the way that he grew up or came up where something actually went very wrong for him. And so, you know, where's the sense of accountability of saying, yeah, the world, you know, I inherited a real bad deck of cards. And, you know, everybody's born with a certain deck of cards. And, you know, some of us get better ones and some of us get worse ones. And, you know, successful people, whether it's emotionally, whatever, are people who are able to take the cards they've been dealt and turn it into something positive.
Yep.
But this guy, like, he has no sense of real accountability.
Yep. Some people use it as motivation.
Yeah.
And some people just say, you know what? Depending on how you look at it will usually depend on if you're going to be able to what is the word? Catalyze?
Yeah.
Off it, or it's going to overtake you. You got to make a choice. Are you going to ride it, or is it going to ride you? But if you're like, oh, poor me, all these horrible things happen to me, then it's always going to make you in a place where you're just going to stay there. But if you say, you know what, this happened, but I'm going to, because events change us, and they make us different people, and then you can either do good with that, or you can let it destroy you and other people around you.
But that line, can be there some sort of error hard to stop the surmounting terror. Is it really the end and not some crazy dream?
Yeah, did you ever have those dreams where you're like almost ready to die and then you don't die?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can see where he's coming from.
Well, it's one of the coping mechanisms that the mind does when something really terrible happens or is about to happen.
Yeah, you go into that dreamy state,
This isn't really happening to me.
Yeah.
But see, this is like, Gojira did that song, The Art of Dying. And we talked about, the key to dying well is living well. Because really, everything in your life is boiled down to those 5 minutes. Everything in your life is boiled down to those 5 minutes. Like,
what do you mean?
Like,
it's boiled down to those 5 minutes.
In other words, like, if you live your life in just frivolity and delusion, and you don't prepare yourself for death, you don't prepare yourself for those 5 minutes on how to handle it properly.
Yes.
And how to accept what it is, then you're going to have a terrible, terrible time. And so what I'm saying is that you have to live in such a way that when it's time for you to die, that, you're ready, you accept it, and that,
I mean, would it shake you if you knew you were going to the gallows at 5 o'clock?
I mean, I've never been in that situation.
Well,
so
that's the thing. Like,
I have been in very, very life-threatening situations. I was completely calm. I'm not bragging, but I mean, I was completely calm.
Yeah, but did you think you were going to die?
Yeah, I thought there was a good chance I probably wasn't
really?
gonna make it.
Oh, okay. You always have this mentality like, I'm going to make it out of this.
Well, I have that mentality now because I made it out of those situations.
Okay, all right. So they notch on you.
When I got out of New York City, I said, shit,
man.
I'm alive. I literally, I told you that story.
Yeah, yep.
I saw the thing, like, you're leaving New York City. I was like,
wow.
I made it.
How did I survive?
How did that happen?
Wow, okay.
So, but you gotta live in such a way that, and this is a whole thing, like, we play around with worldview and things like that, and, is there a God, isn't there a God, yada, 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 but, like, okay, you've got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you confident that the way you're living your life right now, if you had 5 minutes, that you'd be ready to die well? Or would you be, like, completely and totally consumed in terror? I was reading this book by this Navy SEAL, and the guy was a Christian, and he got hit, and he was dying, and his buddies were all coming around him, and they know when somebody's dying, and he knew he was dying, and he told his friends, the last thing he said to his friends, it was this big build-up in the special, and they're like, what was the last thing he said to you? And I'm like waiting for this big significant, payoff, like, follow Jesus with your whole life, or whatever. He looked at his friends, he said, I'm okay. That was it. And that had such a huge impact on his friends who, had to carry his body for, 10 miles, and put it on the chopper, and he's there dead.
What do you think he meant by that?
Well, they talk about that in the special. They were like, what did he mean by that? And they all came to the consensus that because he had his faith, that he was completely fine, like, don't worry about me. And he was the calmest one in the group, while all the rest of them were, like, freaking out, because he was, like, superhuman to them. These are, like, these are SEAL Team 6 guys, and, like, this guy was among them. He was...
Do you remember his name?
Adam Brown. Like, he was superhuman to them. And he got hit, and they couldn't believe it. He's dying. They're like, yo. And he just looked at them, and he said, I'm okay. And that's the last. Those were his last words.
You remember that verse that says, like, basically, mark a righteous man in the end, like, basically at the end of his life, there's peace.
Yeah. But that's what I mean by, like, it says mark a righteous man, and then in the end. So it's what it's saying is, you live a certain way. Living a certain way is going to buy you a peaceful 5 minutes. But if you live the other way, like if you live against your own conscience and what you know internally, if you live against that voice your entire life, when those 5 minutes are coming, you're going to be doing this shit.
Well, I would imagine, I was going to say, imagine shit gets real
Yeah.
at the end, because he was saying, like, he was, you know, the reality stuff, and he's almost, but you have to have some real discussion with yourself. If you know you're dying, you're not bullshitting yourself anymore. Now you're like, okay,
Yeah.
what do I know? What do I question? You know?
This is a strange song, and I don't really know how realistic it is.
What do you mean?
Because by the end of the song, right, we're supposed to get, I think this guy goes through a progression. Like, initially he's scared to death, right? And then he says, catch my soul because it's willing to fly away. So he's made peace with his own soul.
Yeah, and he's ready.
Saying, I'm ready to go. And catch my soul, so that's talking to God, right? Only God can catch his soul.
Yes.
Right, if it's getting expelled out of his
But
body,
if you
God's
notice,
got to catch his soul.
Before he says that, it says, somebody cries from a cell, God be with you. So,
Yeah,
you know,
but then he says,
God,
if there's a God, then why does he let me go?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, he's reconciling, okay, I'm going to die. But then at the very, very end, he says, hallowed be thy name. Which is, you know, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Yeah.
So,
The Lord's Prayer.
the Lord's Prayer, right? And so that's his sort of reconciliation with God, right? Like, so he's scared about the concept of death, and he's like, well, if I believe in life after death, why would I be scared? And then he says, well, I'm terrified.
Right.
But then he says, you know what? It's over. I'm gonna die. My soul's going. It's all good. And then he reconciles with God in the end. But the crazy thing to me is that he says, though the end is near, I'm not sorry.
Yeah, what the heck?
All my life drifts before me, and then he says he's not sorry. He's like Mr. Echo in Lost. This is another Lost spoiler, but there's a character named Mr. Echo. You remember him?
I do.
The African dude.
I liked him.
And everybody that has an African accent, you like them. I feel like if I had like a Wakanda accent, that I would, like, things would go better for us.
Oh. Well, do your Jamaican accent.
No, I said Wakanda. I said
Yeah,
Africa.
but I just like accents.
Unhand me.
I just like accents. I
But
think
anyway,
it's so cute.
there's this guy named Mr. Echo. It's a brilliant story in Lost, and if this is a spoiler, I'm sorry, but there's this smoke monster on the island, and the smoke monster basically acts as a judge and executioner. He watches you.
Yeah.
And Mr. Echo had a brother, and there were these gangsters that came and they tried to get his brother into the gang, and he had to kill somebody to join the gang, and instead of letting his brother do it, Echo killed the guy, and it led him to this like life of crime, but his brother became a priest.
Right.
And so all through the show, he's got this conscience thing bugging him because of all the evil shit that he did. And then at the last scene in his part of the show, the smoke monster shows up and basically says, "Are you ready to repent?" You know?
Yeah.
And Echo says, "No, I have nothing to repent for."
Yes.
And then the smoke monster kills him because wrong answer.
Yeah, I remember that we were both like, "What?"
Yeah, and it's you live your whole life just before you, and you're not sorry. You're on death row.
I know. How can you not?
How the hell are you not sorry?
But that goes to his whole thing. Like everything was about him. Remember at the beginning?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, this is a real subtle. Like on the one hand, you can look at him like, oh, this is beautiful. Like he found God at the end of his life, and blah blah blah. But I'm like, nah.
Why did he never say he did wrong?
Somebody cries from a cell, God be with you. If there's a God, then why has he let me go? What do you mean, why has he let you go? See, this is a crazy thing about, like, that I really struggle. Go ahead.
No, it's just the way, why do you mean he let me go? It was just cute the way.
I struggle with people's issues, like, sometimes, as trying to reconcile this stuff. Because here you are, you killed somebody. And there's a commandment. It says, you shall do no murder.
Right.
And so it's like, you broke the commandment. You lived a life that you wanted to live because you think that, you know, Christianity, God, or whatever is too constricting. And then when the consequences for deviating from God's stated purpose, as far as what we believe, come back on you, then you blame God for letting you go. Mm-hmm. Well, which is it? Like I never understood. If it was me, I'd be like, and the guy said, "God be with you," and I lived a crazy life like that. I'd be like, well, okay. He was right, apparently. You know what I mean? Like, but this guy in his dying moments, he's like, no, I'm not sorry, and God, why'd you let me go? But then at the end, he's saying, hallowed be your name. That to me is like completely disjointed. Like, I don't see any real development in this guy's thought process.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like, it seems to me that this is a guy...
Is that why you're saying you don't know if this is an actual real event?
No. I don't think it's a real event. I'm saying it's not realistic.
Yeah, I'm saying, is that why you're saying that? It's not realistic? Is because there was no progression and...
This is a guy, in my mind, who's using religion like...
Make himself feel like it's okay?
Yeah. This is a guy...
Wow.
A lot of folks, and we're going to do a podcast on this, a lot of folks think that our walk with God is like this. They really think that. So he's coming to the end.
Who's ours?
I'm talking about me and you, yeah. And just Christianity in general. Like, this is not, like, from a biblical perspective, this is not how you relate to God.
Oh, no.
You're about to die. You don't take any accountability for you causing a rift in your relationship with God. Mm-hmm. You have no accountability for it. And then, but at the end, you're going to say, hallowed be thy name. You know what I mean? Like you're just using prayer as like some incantation, and
it doesn't work like that.
So it's not like it's not. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that God would say, "Screw you! You lived a terrible life, and now all of a sudden, randomly, you want to come to heaven." No, like I don't. No, that's not true, because there was a guy in he's getting crucified next to Jesus, who also most likely was probably a murderer, and Jesus instantly forgave him. Right. You know what the difference was? The guy admitted he did something wrong to cause a rift in his relationship. Right. It's not
That's the big thing.
Yeah. Yep. And the guy didn't do some like fancy prayer. He's using like regular American English, and at the end he says, hallowed be thy name, like this flowery King James language that nobody uses in regular parlance. Mm-hmm. That's not how he talks. Right. But now all of a sudden he's using all this holy language because, whatever.
Well, a lot of people think that's the way God talks, because people think the King James is the way it is.
Yeah, so but God doesn't speak King James.
No, I know that, but people don't know that, and so people think, oh, hallowed be thy name. People think that when they pray, they have to talk like that.
And that's my point. Like, it's missing the point. Like, prayer is not an incantation.
No.
And so with this guy who's getting crucified...
He wants you to talk regular to him.
Yeah, he's getting crucified next to Jesus, and he basically says, hey, man, I suck as a person. Do me a favor and just remember me. Mm-hmm. It's all the guy said. Mm-hmm. He didn't say, hallowed be thy name. He didn't say the Lord's Prayer and all that.
And then Jesus said, today you'll be with me.
Me and you, we're good. Yep. But see, Jesus' response was, you will be with me, because it's about the relationship. It's not about... Jesus doesn't talk about anything that the guy did in his past. Yep. Because he's like, okay, you admitted that you screwed up here and there. We don't need to talk about it. It's done. The only thing we're going to talk about now is that in the next couple hours, me and you were good. Mm-hmm. And that's how you die well in 5 minutes.
You know what's crazy? That guy died before Jesus? Or no, he didn't.
No, Jesus died before him, so he's waiting for him. Yep. In our view of the world. So yeah, like this to me is like, this is religion. Like this is, you have no relationship with God. You have no self. This is why I talk so much about self-awareness, because to the very end, this guy has zero awareness whatsoever. And he has no divine awareness either, because he really thinks, oh, if I shoot some... like that's going to be a different discussion than he thought. Yep. And I don't think God's going to be like, rah. I just think he's going to be like, look, man, let's just be real for 1 second. Like, you didn't really care about me that much. You know what I mean? Like, I think God's personality is a lot different than people really realize. Mm-hmm. At least from a Christian perspective, and at least from, forget Christian perspective. I'm telling you my experience with him. Yeah. It's different than that. If I were dying, like in my last moments, I probably wouldn't say that. I don't know what I'd say. But it probably wouldn't be something it would be something like, I'm okay. It's Adam Brown. Like, it's a very, very, but it's stuff like that. Like, this is a real person having a real experience. I'm okay. Or, hey, remember me. Mm-hmm. Not this stuff. And that's my opinion and experience with God. I don't think I'm gonna be saying a lot of flowery stuff.
Yeah, but I remember, but that's you, because there are other people. I remember it was somewhere in January, you know how I am about events.
Yeah.
Something in January, something had crashed. I don't know if it was a plane or if it was Apollo something around there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then they played the tape from inside. And like, you could hear, you know, people were screaming, people were swearing, blah, blah, blah. But you could hear one person above it all, "Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." So that was that person's experience. And I believe they were having a real experience with God, even though it was flowery King Jamesy-ish. That was their experience that they were having.
Okay,
and I
that's
believe
fair.
that was real for them.
That's
but
fair.
you just got to be real with God the way
That's
that
fair.
you are. And
Yeah.
don't worry about trying to be... For me, when I pray... There's sometimes where I'm like, "God, blah," like swearing and whatever, and then there's
You
other
swear?
times. Yes, sometimes I swear when I'm talking to God, and then there's other times where I'm like, "Oh God, you are so," you know, and the Father and thou art this and that. It just depends on my mood, but I know that God knows me and He knows the sincerity of my heart in the moment that I'm praying. So it's not about the words that I'm using; it's about the sincerity of my heart. That's it.
I agree. No, you're right. I think you're right about it. It's a good course
Of course,
correction.
I'm right.
Dead clock's right twice a day.
Stop it.
Yeah. So I think that this is a very interesting song, but it's very heavy subject matter. It seemed like the subject matter in 80s metal was just a lot more like ultimate. They were dealing with like ultimate issues. War and all this, but I mean, new metal went to the stage in the 90s where it was just, I
have a what?
hard life.
Oh, I think you said a hangnail or something.
Yeah, that too. I'm sure. Sure, Jonathan Davis could have made a great song about hangnails. All right, 1 to 10. What do you rate it?
7.
It's 5.5 for me. Maybe bag of shells. It's 5.5.
So I wouldn't add it to my playlist, but
5.5. I like the little
7
guitar.
because
I
there
like
was
the
stuff
guitar
that I thought
sequence.
was interesting.
Yeah,
And again, I can't put my finger on what I liked, what I thought was interesting.
I like the guitar sequence. That was cool. It's a 5 for me. 5.5. Vin out. I'm dying, guys. Vin out.
Sorry,
Edit that out.
No, I'm not. Oh yeah, I'll edit it. Sure.